So we're going to talk about the welding booth. Before we can go in the welding booth, we need to talk about appropriate attire. If you want to weld, you got to be wearing pants. Now, that might sound a little silly, but what I mean is no shorts, no real, joggers, the real slinky, swishy type of pants. They melt really easy. Even if you put the clothing on, the covering won't cover your legs enough. You're going to catch some spatter. It's going to hurt. So wear good pants, preferably good shoes, not mesh top. Spatter will melt right through the top of those. I do have something called spats you can cover your shoes with to prevent hot metal melting through your shoe onto the top of your foot. Long sleeve shirt is nice, but we do have some coverings called a cape that we're going to put on and will cover our sleeves. So let's get that set up. All right, so we're dressed. I have an apron on, pockets are on the outside. Apron on goes on first, the cape goes on over top. Let's put this on second. So this is covering the top of your apron. We don't want hot metal falling down in here, down your shirt. I've also got safety glasses on. Even with the hood, you need safety glasses on at all times. Very, very important in this welding booth. You should, in your apron, you should have a pair of channel locks. Just like this, you should have those right here. Every apron should have a pair of channel locks. We do not touch any metal when we're inside the booth. We're just going to assume everything's hot. You don't touch it with your bare hands. You don't touch it with your gloves either, because it's hot enough that it will burn and ruin the gloves. The aprons and capes are hanging up right here on the other side of this curtain. We need a pair of gloves and a hood. Both of those are found in the cabinet inside. We're going to take you inside and show those to you right now. All right, here we are in the welding booth. So gloves, helmets are all found right here. They need to be put back neatly after you're done using them. Matched sets for gloves, helmets stacked in here neatly. Capes should all be hanging up with channel locks in the apron and cape. I should not ever see this. We should not ever see anything left on the floor in here or on counters like this. Not your scrap, but the pieces of metal that you've welded on, we don't leave them on tables. We don't set them up on top of here. They get put away, they get taken out with you after they've been totally cooled off. So, again, should not ever see channel locks down here. If you see that, pick them up, figure out which apron they came out of, and make sure they're put back. Okay, we shouldn't ever we shouldn't leave anything on here either as far as channel locks or anything like that. You scrap metal down here, this is not okay. So we've left this out to show you what I do not want to see. If you want to keep using the welding booth, this needs to be clean. There should not be any metal down here. We should not see electrodes, used electrodes like this, should not be on the ground anywhere. We've got a bin to put them in. Probably one of the most dangerous things you can do is leave something flammable in the welding booth. There should be no paper, no wood, no cardboard, nothing flammable, especially not a flammable gas like this. So this should not ever be left in the welding booth along with anything else flammable. This should all be metal stuff that cannot catch on fire. So let's take a look at our welders. Down here in our corner is the welder we're using. Eventually we hope to start using these newer welders. This is a 220 volt Lincoln, they call it a tombstone welder. Works great for what we're doing. We should never need to change the dial for the rod we're using and the metal we're welding. It's set to 90 amps. It has a little power switch, like a light switch, down on the bottom, and they get worn out. So they don't always flip all the way on, and they don't always flip all the way off. If it gets stuck on, the plug-in is right here. You can just unplug the cord. We have a ground clamp. This must be clamped to the table or to the metal you're working on. And we have a stinger. So this is an electrode holder or a stinger. It's got a spring in here. You squeeze that, pops this out. So we want to burn these rods down to about the numbers. When you get them down to about there, that's when we put them in that tray over there, not on the ground. New rods are found on the next table over. We're using 6013. It just clamps right in there. Notice I'm doing this with the machine off. Okay, goes on the metal, just clamps on the metal. That's a new electrode, new welding rod. The machine should never be on with this sitting on the table over here. If it is, it will arc and spark. We don't want that to happen. Machine must be off. Our piece of metal is going to be here, but before we can weld, we need gloves. And the number one thing you need to remember is to turn the fan on. We've got an exhaust fan that sucks fresh air in right above where the camera is sitting at the moment. There's a grate that opens, fresh air comes in. We've got a big fan in the ceiling that sucks all of the fumes and exhaust out. So before we do anything, we turn that fan on. The only reason I haven't turned it on yet is because you wouldn't be able to hear me if the fan was on. All right, so that's about it for safety. We're going to give you some really quick pointers on how to weld, and we'll turn the fan on and get going.